Hello, and welcome to the Living Scary Podcast.
The podcast where we talk about real-to-real horror, so you can live vicariously through us.
I've lived here for 15 years and she hasn't bothered me. Logan and I like to watch and talk about horror movies.
And I'm beating you to death with your own arm, McCall, and I like to talk about true crime and murder.
Yay!
Yay! But not today. We're talking about a movie.
Yes, this is a movie review of a new movie. It's called Barbarian.
It is. And so, okay, we're going to get into some straight up spoilers going through it.
Just starting out
scene
right
for
now.
scene. So, if you haven't watched the movie, I recommend you do.
Stop listening and go watch it.
I would categorize it as a must-watch. I had a very fun time.
I don't know if I'd give it a must-watch, but I would definitely...
Okay, all right.
I'd definitely say watch it.
Scale 1 to 10.
1 to 10 is a large margin. Maybe like a 7.
I think a 7's good. I'd give it an 8.
I was going into this thing because people there's a lot of hype about it where it's just the scariest movie since The Grudge, and it's just okay.
All right. Okay. Oh, I will say the commercials for this movie, they did that thing where they show the audience reacting to the movie instead of the actual movie snippets.
Yeah.
And I don't think that this movie warranted those reactions. You know?
No. Although I will say I definitely was one of the people who was covering my eyes at certain points.
I was doing but I never went wah! When people jump out of their seat. I wasn't doing that shit. I was tense. But
oh yeah. This movie, I was tense about it. Okay, so here's what I'm saying. The first 2/3 of the movie, I give a solid 8. The last third, I give a 6, a 5 or a 6. I was pretty let down by the last third of the movie.
Interesting. All right, I can't wait because I have a lot of thoughts on this movie. Brendan and I went to go see it, and then afterward, I was like, I need Brendan to do a bunch of research on what everything means and what everybody thinks about it,
so that I can take it.
Everything I'm going to say is stolen directly from my husband, so I have no thoughts of my own. But I agree with him. And I loved the discussion on it. I thought it was really cool.
Okay.
All right. So we're starting. I will start because I saw it the most recently.
Yes, I saw it a while ago.
Wait. We got to do what you always do. Do you want to go through the cast?
Oh, yes. So this movie's 2022. So this is this year. It just came out probably end of August. So it is, as of recording this on October 4th, it is still in theaters. For how much longer, I'm not sure, but
probably not too much longer. I don't know how.
Our top cast is going to be Georgina Campbell as Tess, Bill Skarsgård, aka Pennywise, as Keith, and Justin Long as as AJ, and then we have the rest. We don't really have many other big names, period, in this movie.
I mean, I feel like Frank.
I really don't remember any of these characters other than the ones that I mentioned. I don't know.
But yes, that is I think the guy who played Frank is a bigger actor.
Girl, I'm looking at it right now, and I'm looking at his IMDb right now, and I don't know anything that he's been in.
All right, well now I have to go back to it. You're making me look like a liar. You haven't seen The Kingsman?
Wait, he was in The Kingsman?
It's it's right at the top of the IMDb. I always say BD.
No, he's in Kingsman's Secret Service, which is... Oh, wait, that is the first one.
Oh, look at you.
Oh,
you
poor
fool.
Well, okay, I'm sure he's somebody.
But I'm sure he's a person.
Yes.
So we got Tess, who I would say is the main person of the movie.
Oh, she's definitely the heroine.
She's the final girl. Oh wait, I just gave it away. Wow. It's okay. We're gonna give all of it away. So Tess McGill. I don't know.
Tess McGillicuddy.
Bob's Burgers has ruined me after the Working Girl episode because now whenever I hear the name Tess, I'm like, Tess McGill, you've stolen this Gruber's heart. Every time. But there's Tess McGill. I mean Tess. Sorry. Oh, geez.
You could have just kept going. I thought that was her name, but I'm looking at it now. It's Tess Marshall.
Tess Campbell. Oh. What? What IMDb are you on?
Georgina Campbell is her Christian name.
Alri
But her name in the
You got
story
me.
is Tess Marshall.
Fine, fair, fair. Okay, so Tess, she's in her car, it's raining, and it's nighttime,
And it's dark as
and
shit.
it is so fucking dark, and she's like, every light in this neighborhood is off, except for this one house. And you're obviously getting icky feelings about this house since it's a horror movie and you know that it's gonna be scary.
And it's a dark and stormy night.
Yes. And she keeps getting calls from Marcus, her ex boyfriend, and she keeps ignoring them. So,
I love how that happens. Like, there's
mhm.
doing all this thing with Marcus, and it never amounts to anything.
I have a whole discourse about this. It's gonna
Okay.
come up. It's like a whole thing. Brendan really gave me a lot of ammo.
Okay, please do, because I just had my initial thoughts to it, and that was about it.
So, yeah, she's getting these messages from Marcus. He's trying to call her. She's ignoring him, obviously.
We always run into this
She
problem really quick with our movie reviews. I'm so sorry to
Mhm.
interrupt. How in depth do we want to go into this?
I have no idea because I want to hear your opinions on every little thing. So I feel like I want to get in depth. However, that might be tedious.
No, like, I definitely want to, like, I guess it was like in terms of like a movie review.
Oh, I don't
I
know.
uh let's get into it. Let's just get into it.
Let's
Let's get
just get
into it.
into it.
Let's do it.
Just have fun.
So if you want to watch the movie, this is again is your kind of like go watch it before and then come back and join us.
Just take a quick hour and 30-minute break. Actually, I think it's like
It wasn't that long.
it's not long.
I think
It's
it was
actually
like
like
a
the
cool
perfect amount of
hour.
time, I'd
It was an
say.
hour and 42.
Hour 42, beautiful. Perfect
Oh,
amount of time.
so I'm sorry, go into it. Marcus, she goes up to the house.
She's trying to get into this Airbnb, and they have that thing where you put in the code and it gives you the key, and there is no key inside the thing, and she's like, "What the fuck?" And then there's like a guy in the house already. He turns on the light and like some crazy bitch is banging on the door like Logan when he was trying to get in my house and
Oh god, and
when I was
scared
in
the shit out of your
college.
person, your
Scared my
roommate.
roommate half to death. So yeah, she's not wailing and crying though, so goddamn.
That was me.
I love that story. But yeah, so she knocks on the door and she meets this guy named Keith, who is Bill Skarsgård, and he's like, "I'm staying in this B&B." And she's like, "Well, I am." And then they like awkwardly realize that they got scheduled to the same B&B through different websites. And then there's like that awkward, well, I'm already here and it's raining and it's nighttime and there's no other places open. So what do you want me to do? And he's like, "You can stay here." And she's like, "I don't want that." But then she kind of just does it.
Because she realizes that, well, all the other hotels in the area are booked. So this is kind of like her only option.
So when this starts, were you just like micro analyzing everything Keith ever did or said?
Yep.
Yeah.
Everything. Every little thing I was analyzing it. I was like, is he a predator?
I knew nothing about this movie going in because the only commercials I saw were the ones that showed the audience. So I didn't even know who the characters were. I
I
didn't know Bill Skarsgård was in it.
No, I didn't know anything about this. I didn't even know this movie existed until Charlie said, "Hey, want to go see this new horror movie?" Because I don't watch TV. I don't watch
You
like
don't watch movies?
I No, I don't watch cable TV. So I didn't see those commercials. I also do not like all of my streaming services. I spring the extra because I pay for the ones that give me no option or an option for no commercials because I fucking hate commercials. So I did not know anything about this movie going into it. Period.
Well, you look at Bill Skarsgård's face and you're like, when are his eyes gonna do the Pennywise shit? He's gonna be a little puggle. I don't.
He also like even when he's just looking straight on, not doing the thing, he's got a weird look to him.
He's still kind of doing the thing a little bit, like not on purpose.
Yeah,
But yeah, so they're talking and he seems like a really nice guy, but you're like, this is a horror movie, so obviously you're a murderer.
yeah. Obviously, you're the threat.
Yeah, so you're going through that the whole time. They go to bed, whatever. She kind of like ends up liking him a little bit. And then in the middle of the night, her bedroom door opens, even though she shut it. And she is like, "What the fuck?" And then she goes out to like investigate. And Keith is sleeping on the couch and he's kind of like having a night terror. And she wakes him up and he's like, "What the fuck?" And she's like, "Did you open my door?" And he's like, "No, go away." And then that's it. So that's a weird
It
exchange.
definitely is a lot of tension in this movie. Like it definitely is a tense movie.
A lot of tension. So then they like do their own thing the next day, and she comes back to the house. He's gone. And I honestly don't remember exactly what causes her to do the next thing she does.
Toilet paper. She goes down to
Oh,
the basement because she needed toilet paper.
she was also chased inside the house by a homeless man
Oh,
who was
yes, there
like
was, yes.
yelling at her. And anyone's reaction to a man sprinting down the street and saying, "Hey, little girl."
T1000ing you. Yeah, and literally, yeah, yelling like, little girl, hey,
Oh,
young
Jesus
girl.
Christ. So, yeah, she eats out of there. She needs to get toilet paper. She goes into the basement, finds the toilet paper, and then she gets locked in the basement because the door shuts on itself because it's
And
a
it locks because
nightmare.
it's one of those horrible doors.
Because what fucking basement door locks? Like,
From
is
the
this?
inside.
I hate it. So she's like stuck.
Grandma Donna and Grandpa Jim's door.
It locked from the. Oh, yeah, because you got locked in the basement.
Not I got locked in the basement. My cousins purposely shut the lights off and locked the basement door and locked me down there so many times.
They did it to me too. And it built character. I'm glad they did it. Just
God.
kidding. No, it really scared me. I didn't like it. But so she's in the basement. The lights are on so far. And she finds a fucking hidden passageway door shit in the wall.
Which of course leads to my favorite line in the whole movie where like this door opens up and she's looking down, it's like this ominous music and it stops and she just goes, "Nope."
Nope. Which anyone would do. But then she can't get out still and she's still stuck and she's still trying to figure it out. So she figures a way to like shine a light down this like pitch black hallway.
With like a mirror showing
She's
resourcefulness.
clever. She's smart.
The very capabilities you need to see in a final girl.
So she eventually investigates like an idiot and finds just a straight up torture room. There's an icky old cot with the grossest mattress on it, a fucking video camera set like in the floor, and then there's like a bucket on the ground. And she's like, ah, and then she runs and she's trying to get out, and then Keith comes home and helps her get out unlocked from the basement.
Yes.
And she's flipping her lid about it. And she's like, "Keith, we gotta get out of here." And Keith's like, "What are you talking about? So there's a room downstairs with a bucket in it?" And it's like, all right, Keith, fuck you.
All right. All right.
What the fuck? Okay, in this situation, Logan, as a person, if you're having this weird sharing a B&B with someone and they come upstairs and they're like, "There is a scary room down there. We have to leave." Do you trust them? Or do you do what Keith does and say, "I need to take it. Look for myself"?
I would say, okay, time to go. Shall we call the police? I guess I would be kind of like more of like a, well, let's go look at it together to see if there's anything real, like we need to get the police involved. And then from there, like once I see it's just a bed, as far as I can see a bed and a cot, like a cot and a bucket, I will say, all right, we're going to close this door. We're going to close the secret door and we are going to fucking leave this place
So
and report it to Airbnb.
I'm going to call the police. So I think that in these situations, people are being crazy pants. But the way she's talking is kind of like, what? And Bill Skarsgård's like, "So there's a room downstairs with a bucket in it? Like, I'll just go look at it. I'm not gonna not stay
And
at this
I don't
fucking
know.
B&B I paid for."
I don't know. This also might sound bad. But if I am a man and I come home and the girl that I'm living with is like this, my mind would not say like, also it's like my mind wouldn't say this girl is going to attack me and like in this
Yeah.
secret room. It's like I would say I think I'm pretty safe. It's like if she did try to attack me for some reason, I'd probably be able to defend myself. Now, if Bill Skarsgård came up to me and said, "Hey, this weird thing is happening," I'd be like, "Let's both leave because
Let's go.
I don't. You're tall and you look
You're
like you
pretty
might work
big,
out."
Bill. You don't know each other, so you're like, are you just kind of a crazy person? Like,
I'm
are
also just
you
more
someone
inclined to
who
believe women.
overreacts? Yeah, I don't know. So she's like, "I'm not fucking going downstairs again." Bill's like, "I'll go alone because I'm a big man." And he walks downstairs and then,
Now
oh
that attitude
no.
I would never have. That attitude I would never that bravado would not even cross my mind. I'd say we either need to get the fuck out of here or we need to go together, see if there's something dangerous, and then leave.
Well, she already said she's not going back down there. So either you're
As you
going with her away, or you are going alone to the basement.
I'm not going alone, so we're leaving. Bye-bye.
So I guess we're going. Yeah,
So the movie ends. Good night.
The end. Bill Skarsgård
And
is
nobody
never
dies. The end.
like, he just is like incommunicado. He's not responding to her. So she has to fucking go back downstairs, even though she said she wasn't gonna. And then, oh, he's not in the creepy bucket room. Where could he be? Oh, wait. Oh. Is there a second secret door?
With so many stairs.
So many stairs. It's like a
That
craggy.
looks like a dungeon. It's
It
why
looks
would
like
you even
someone
wanna go
dug
down-
it out in the medieval ages with a pickaxe. Like,
Oh,
so
maybe
she's
not the medieval ages, maybe like the 50s, as we
no.
come to find out.
Nope. And nope. Sir Arthur actually made
It's where-
that tunnel.
It is where Excalibur is hidden.
It is the Lady of the Lake's down there. Well, a lady is down there. So she's walking down this thing and she hears Bill like, help me.
And now this
Oh
is
my
where when I was watching the movie, I was like the people in the audience, and I was like, oh god, something's gonna come out, something's gonna scare me.
And so she keeps walking. She gets into the thing. There's so many red flags of like human-sized bird cages and shit.
Oh yeah,
Like,
what's with the human-sized bird cages?
like she walks by these like blood and shit infested cages and she's like, oh no.
I better keep going to find this guy that I don't know.
Bill Skarsgård comes in crawling on his hands and knees. I got Pennywise flashbacks and I kind of was like, I knew he was the bad guy.
Yeah,
But he's like, we gotta get out of here. Something fucking bit me. And I'm first of all like, why'd you go down the stairs, Bill? Why'd you fucking go down the stairs? So we see a figure coming out of the tunnel of darkness and we're like, what's that? And Bill's like, wah! And then a fucking naked woman comes out of nowhere screaming. She grabs Bill's head and just smashes it against the wall. And he's
Keith
dead.
is dead.
Keith is fucking dead. And then it just like hard cuts, like gives you no time to process.
And this for me is where the movie dramatically dropped.
Oh, you did not like this.
Nope, I hated hate is a strong word. I did not like anything that happened from this point on.
There are a lot of people who were like, Brendan looked at all the people who like put up critics scores and stuff. They kind of said like a third of the way through, I stopped liking it. This is where I deviated. I was still on board for sure, but we meet Justin Long, who's in his Corvette singing a song, and he gets a call from his...
The tonal whiplash was too much.
Jarring. Like, your head hurts while he's singing this weird song.
And also it didn't, like, it's in the Wikipedia, it's saying like, oh, 2 weeks later. I'm like, we didn't even get that. It just, all of a sudden, we were like, where are we?
Who is what?
Like, where are we even in the same state? Are we even? Because
No.
this movie takes place in like Detroit.
Yes.
And then like we cut to like California, and like nothing to do with what just happened in this house. I was like, whoa, what the fuck just happened? Suddenly it's sunny and bright, and Justin Long is here.
Yeah, it's like when you're reading a book and the chapter's getting crazy and then it ends and then you start a new chapter and it's from a different character's perspective and you're like, oh, I can't wait till we get to the same thing I was interested in. You know, like I kind of liked that feeling, but it was maybe not great for some. But Justin Long gets a call from his managers. He's an actor and he, like,
sexually
raped a lady.
Yeah.
So, and he's like, you're getting all of this from Justin Long's perspective. Sorry, not Justin Long, the actor, from AJ, his character's perspective. And he's like, I didn't do anything. What is she saying?
Also, he's a giant douchebag.
He looks like a douchebag.
And acts like a douchebag and is a douchebag.
Does. Justin Long.
You're not supposed to like his character.
No, but he does an amazing job at being a douchebag. Like,
for someone who looks like he looks, like acting like a douchebag like that.
He really pulled it off. I fucking love Justin Long. But so
I like him in certain things.
His life is now in shambles because the actress is accusing him of sexual misconduct and no one wants to work with him. He's getting pushed off the show he was on. He's losing all of his money. and
He's
he needs
blacklisting everything. He's getting blacklisted everywhere.
he needs to liquidate his assets, which is a bunch of properties that he like has. So, whoa, tie-in. He's the person that owns the property that's the B&B. And he goes there to sell it, basically. So he's travels to Michigan and is in this shitty B&B.
I forget Detroit is in Michigan.
Detroit is its own place.
Yeah.
Here's Detroit.
Here's Detroit after the aliens.
I love how both of us had the same reference. Whenever Detroit comes up, I think about that every time.
Every time.
So that's good.
I also think of Kathleen Madigan. She's like, people who live in Detroit are the most optimistic people in the world. They're like, well, it certainly can't get any worse, so it's got to get better sometime. I'm just going to stick around here. I'm not moving.
Oh my God. Oh, I've never been, but I don't want to go.
I have no intention.
So Justin Long proceeds to have the funniest bit in the whole movie, which
again
Brendan
is so jarring to me.
Oh, I loved it. I liked it. Brendan was losing his shit. His mind was he was laughing so hard.
In the movie theater?
Yes. It was just us and another couple, and Brendan was just like, oh my God. So Justin Long's in this house. Obviously, someone was living here before because there's a bunch of suitcases and shit. He's trying to figure that out. He's like, who was staying here? The Airbnb's like, we don't know. And he's just like, whatever. So he finds the secret passageway. And it's terrifying. And it's the scariest thing you've ever seen in your life. And Justin Long's like, oh my God. And he goes upstairs and he Googles, can basement extra room be counted as square footage, like when you're selling a house?
Yeah, no, Charlie and I also were laughing during this part. This was a funny part. It
was great. So then he's like, he gets his tape measure out and he's measuring the murder dungeon that's underneath his fucking house.
Yeah, like in this dungeon with, like I said, the bravado of a straight white man who
just
nothing could happen to him. Yeah.
Oh, I am untouchable. He's standing next to the shit-covered human-sized cages, and he's like, huh. And then he just starts measuring again.
Better clean these out sometime.
He just kept measuring. Like, you'd think that after a couple times, you'd be like, all right. But, like, every time he started remeasuring shit, Brendan would laugh again. Like, it was so funny. But then, what I like is they subverted it so he's now measuring a fucking hallway. And he sees something ahead and he's like, what the fuck is that? And then his tape measure, which is fully out, it catches on something and then it and comes back to him. And so you're taking this really funny joke and you're just subverting it. So now it's like, oh shit, what the fuck is that? Oh, I just realized I'm in a hole in the ground.
Yeah, it's like it changes from like, oh, this funny scene to realizing, especially in this, like, there's a tunnel and it's like there's one way in, one way out.
And the way out is the way that whatever dislodged my tape measure is. So shit. And then he runs by a doorway and it's a weird room that's got like a nursing video playing and he's like, ugh.
Yeah, I was like, yeah.
And then he sees the woman in the distance chasing him. And it's just this naked, large,
and
tall...
also like it's so dark, you could just see the vague shape of it.
Yeah.
That one really freaked me out. I was like, ha!
I liked Long Tall Sally. She was
Sally very tall.
She was very scary. I liked her. So she doesn't have a name, so I'm calling
Tall Sally.
I'm calling her Long Tall Sally. That's her fucking name.
Okay.
So she's chasing him. He's being a pussy and running. It's not that anyone would be a pussy. He just makes that face that he makes, and it's like, oh. And he falls into like a hole with another person in it, and what? It's Tess. And she's like, shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. And he's like,
Art Crawl, shut the fuck up.
Shut the fuck up. And he's like, oh, do I scream louder? And she's like, no, shut up. She will kill you if you keep freaking out.
That's how
And
Keith died.
I know. And yeah, so he listens to her not at all, which is super frustrating because she has been apparently living in this hole for 2 weeks. And Long Tall Sally comes over with her. She has like a icky.
Comically large bottle.
I hate it.
I hated it. I was like, ugh,
I've never
ugh.
seen.
And she leans down and in a very heavy Italian accent goes, "Oh, the little baby, a suck of the titty."
That was that
That's
was
long.
Italian.
That the Bob of the movie.
What was the movie? The way you said titty was
Questo
so
fa-
jarring.
Oh, the titty, the little baby.
But she apparently wants them to drink from this, like, the weirdest shaped bottle in the
This
world.
it's like it's a bottle that you get from Party City when you're dressing up as a baby,
As a
but you're an
baby.
adult.
But also there's like a really big, long, gnarled hair around the tip. So
Oh
that's
yeah,
fun.
that really
That was
it was to add
nasty.
flavor.
Ugh.
A salty
Some
surprise.
proteins. I So, and Tess is like, you have to fucking drink it. Like, just be a man
Which then makes
and
me
drink
go,
it.
"Ugh." I was like, "Oh my god, if this does take 2 weeks later, that means that she's been sucking this titty for the last 2 weeks."
I assume that is all she has had.
Yep.
So that's fun. So she's living the life.
And we
And
can only assume that this milk is coming out of the huge pendulous breasts of this monster.
I was like going to bed that night and I was like, where does she get the milk from? And then I thought about it too long and I was like, I have to go to sleep.
You
I
had
don't
to,
want to think about it.
your eyes were closed. You were like, where did the milk come from? And they snapped open, just like
No. So,
no.
so Justin Long, aka AJ, is like, I don't want to do that. I disagree firmly. No, thank you. And so he gets snatched up by Long Tall Sally and he gets taken to the room with the nursing video. And she's like, well, I guess you got a nurse then. And so that's a
Because you're not
scene.
taking to the bottle.
So that happens. And then Tess can get out.
It was terrifying.
It was the worst thing I've ever seen. I did not like it. But so Tess is like MacGyvering her way through this darkness and she gets out and then
The homeless man comes by and is like, his name is Andre, and he's like, get the fuck out of here before it gets dark, because that's when
she'll
this
come
lady,
get you.
this creature, she goes out hunting at night.
And she wants you back because you're her
And
baby.
and of course Tess is like, I gotta save AJ.
The coolest guy in the world.
Yeah, this super cool guy, because Tess has way more humanity than any of us, because I would have been like, you didn't want to suck the titty, goodbye.
She met him for 2 seconds. He didn't listen to her and he got taken. I'd be like, I guess them's the breaks, kid, and then
Yeah,
I'd walk home.
If I was her, I just assume that he went the way of Keith and had his head smeared along the wall. Like,
Or, maybe that's what he wanted in life, I can't judge. I'm not
yeah,
that guy.
maybe he wants the titty.
He wants this really gross.
This lady's milk hasn't dried up yet, so she was
I
giving Carl the titty.
Yeah, I don't know, man, but this woman, I don't understand. So she's like, I gotta get the police. And the police are like, fuck you. You're obviously a cokehead, not
The
a
police are
victim.
the police are about as useful as you would expect.
Yeah, from a horror movie. So obviously she has to.
I would argue in real life in a lot of ways too.
Yeah.
If getting more into true crime has taught me anything, police incompetence is the number one killer of many a people.
Of many a marginalized community.
Many a marginalized community. The impetus that allows killers to escape constantly.
There is a thing called the less dead because the police don't look for certain people. So if you're a murderer, you might specifically target a group because you know that they're not going to be looked for. However, AJ is a white man, so what the heck?
And famous.
And famous, but she doesn't know him.
Maybe they won't look for him because
He's also a
He's also
rapist.
an accused rapist.
But the police were like, "Ooh, woman," and then they just like didn't listen to her.
And also,
So
it must be noted that Tess is also a woman of color, so they're
she is
probably like,
also, yeah. They're
so
like,
they're, I'm sure these police officers were like, a woman of color who looks dirty and messed up. Because yes, Tess is disgusting. She's been in that hole for 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
She probably reeks. And this is also because
Smells of milk.
one thing that happens way back at the beginning is that this house is very beautiful. It's very nice on the interior. It looks nice on the exterior, and you can't see anything in the very beginning. Well, the next morning when Tess wakes up and leaves, it is like this house, this super nice house, is plopped into a shanty town. It looked like the rest of the neighborhood is dilapidated, fallen apart.
I don't think anyone else lives there other
Yeah,
than
nobody
the
else really lives.
hobo.
Yeah, and the only reason that this house is so well maintained is because this famous actor owns this property and is paying for people to come and take care of it. That's the only reason this house is still nice. So this whole area is a crap hole.
Like, it looks like a tornado ripped through the neighborhood and just
It's
missed one
definitely,
house.
which I think also does speak to, like, that's another reason why these police people don't believe her, is
Yeah.
because she's a dirty woman of color who's coming out of this area that is very well known to be not great. And so they probably look at her and go, "This is some crackhead."
I'm not listening to you. I'm
I
gonna
think they
go.
even say as much in the
They
movie.
did
They're like,
they did say they did call her.
like,
I don't think
"Whatever
they
you're on,"
said
or I think
crackhead,
they said,
but
"Whatever you're on, you better be you're lucky that we're not gonna take you in for this," or something like that.
so she's like, "Cool, I guess I'm on my own." And then I'm sorry, there is a flashback. So
In
we
which
have to
case, I
go
would
back in
cut my
time.
losses and leave. At that point, I'm like,
I
"All
would be
right,
like, "I guess AJ's dead. I don't know. I did everything I could other than anything else."
rip and rip
Rip in peace. So we do go back in time,
again
and it is the guy that lived here
in the '80s."
before in the 80s?
I yeah,
Reagan?
it says in the Wikipedia, it says a flashback to the 1980s.
The 1980s. So he gets in his car, he goes to the supermarket, he gets diapers and plastic sheets, and the lady's like, "Oh, you have a baby." And he's like, yeah, it's on the way. It's not here yet." And she's like, "Oh, well, what do you want? Like, what type of diapers are you getting? What do you, blah, blah, blah." She's asking all these questions, and he's like, "Oh, it's just me." And she's like, "Ah, you poor thing." And she gets him all of his shit. And then he is getting into his car and he sees a lady across the street and he just follows her to her house,
It's
which
very unnerving.
it is terrifying as shit. And then he puts on a jumpsuit that says Carlos on it. And he goes up to her door and he says, "I don't fucking know who he's pretending to be, like a
Like, from the
waterman."
yeah, from, like, the city.
He's like, "There's some issues in the area. I just want to make sure that your pipes are okay." And she's like, "Of course." And so he like goes into her bathroom and he unlocks the bathroom door, the bathroom window, and then he leaves. He doesn't do anything then. And he's like, "All right, you're all good, ma'am." And she's like, "Oh, thank you so much." And then he goes back home, which is it's the creepy home. And that's where he lives. And the neighborhood looks nice.
It's like a Levittown.
What?
Levittown? It's like those towns that sprung up that were, like, all the exact same house. It was literally the beginning of, like,
Oh.
suburbanization, where it was just kind of like they would just plop in, like, they were able to quickly make houses that all looked the exact same, so it was easy to just build several houses and move people into them.
All right. I've never heard that. Well, I've heard that term, but I've never like asked about it. So that's helpful. Thank you.
It's Somewhere That's Green. She mentions them in Somewhere That's Green in Little Shop of Horrors.
Oh, okay.
Not anything fancy like Levittown, but
But worse. So his neighbor talks to him. He's still in the jumpsuit, by the fucking way. But his neighbor's like, "Oh, we're going to move because the neighborhood's going to shit." And he's like, "I'm never leaving." And then he goes back
in a
inside.
very weird way.
Yeah, in like a way where if he was my neighbor, I'd be like, "That guy's a serial rapist." Like, no
That
doubt
man
in my fucking mind.
that man is a full-on rapist. You mean a philanthropist?
No.
No.
So now Tess is like, I'm gonna just fuck shit up.
Oh yeah, we zoom back to the beginning.
We break our necks and we come back to the present, and it's nighttime now. And Long Tall Sally comes out of her hiding place and just like skitters out and like comes into the yard. And Tess is in her car and she just like revs up and just drives her fucking car into
Well,
Long Tall Sally in the house.
prior to this,
Oh
AJ
shit.
does escape Long Tall Sally.
Oh, I forgot.
Yeah, he escapes Long Tall Sally by kind of fighting off her massive pendulous breasts, and she chases him, but eventually he finds a room that she's too afraid to go in,
Oh, I forgot about this very important part. Thank
and
you.
he goes into this room. Well, then I think it does cut because Long Tall Sally is too afraid to go into this room, so then I think she fucks off to go find Tess, and basically we do find like that guy from the 1980s. Frank is his
Frank,
name. He is in this
not Carl.
room. Yes, he's in this room, and of course AJ's like, "Oh, is she keeping you here too? We'll find a way to get you out of here." But then he finds like this guy has all these videotapes of these women that he's abducted and sexually assaulted. So you understand why this woman is afraid of him because he's a fucking monster.
Yeah.
Well, and then AJ, of course, is like, "We're gonna call the police and dibba dibba da." And Frank's like, "Oh, nope, bye." And he commits
Bye.
suicide.
He Kermits.
He what do people say now? Like they keep like because like well no because they like people have found like especially on like YouTube if you like say suicide it's like your videos
Oh.
get like flagged and demonetized and stuff so it's like you have to come up with other ways to say like
Yes, I actually know what you're talking about. It's like unliving or some shit.
yeah commits unliving or something like that.
Yeah, he commits unliving. I don't know.
Yeah, whatever. I was actually pissed off about this. I wanted him to suffer more.
I mean,
I feel
obviously.
like he got out the easy way. He was able to do all the nasty evil stuff he was able to do and then he was able to just
He just fucked off.
he was able to live to a ripe old age at like a vegetative state and then just fucked off at the first sign of trouble. And I was so mad that he didn't get some kind of I wish that the monster woman was able to kill him. Like after learning all this stuff, I was like, I wanted her to fucking
I
rip his
want
throat
him to
out.
get beaten up with his own arm. God damn it.
I wanted her to rip his throat out and use his aorta as like a pleasuring tool or something. I don't know.
Ugh. Oh no, I don't want that. I don't want that.
I want some. I don't know. I at least
So
wanted him to get the titty.
I don't want him to get the titty. I know whose titty that is.
Yeah. Anyway,
So Justin Long's dealing with this shit, and then the Long Tall Sally got hit with the car. She's pinned against the house. Tess is like, she's trying to find AJ, who now has a gun because he grabbed the gun that Frank used to kill himself with, Kermit himself with. Justin Long, okay, in my defense, if I was walking around in the dark and I had a gun and someone was coming at me, I would shoot. I would immediately shoot. I have no control over my body or my
okay,
fear.
except that Tess says, "Hey," she says something first. Like she calls out first, and
And
then
that
he
would make
shoots her.
me go like boom. I would be so fucking scared at this point. I would just kill whatever was in my range. And so he shoots her.
I immediately was like, if she's dead, I'm done with this fucking movie. Because I was already kind of not vibing with it at this point.
Oh no.
By
Okay.
this point, I was like, kind of like, all right, move it along.
Let's get out of here. So Justin Long is like immediately like, "Ooh, I'm sorry I shot you." And Tess is like, "It's fine." And I'm like, "Well, no, it's not."
Tess has just her Christ-like
I don't
ability to forgive. Like,
She's like, "You didn't know, it's okay." And I'm like, "I would have at least sworn at him. I don't know." But so he takes her out of the house, and then the homeless guy's like, "Come with me. Let's go." And he takes them to his hideout, and
Andre, his name is Andre.
his name is Andre. I didn't see that.
I said it earlier.
I'm sorry. But he's like, "We'll have to stay here till morning because she, Long Tall Sally, is still out." And they're like,
What
"Ow."
is she?
And he's like, "Frank, the serial guy, murderer, he kept women in that basement bunker dungeon, and he raped them, and then they had babies, and then he raped those babies, and then this is what happens when that amount
It's
of incest and evil
inbreeding.
happens,
Yeah.
basically. So she's just some, like, inbred, like,
And then
ugh.
and then they say, "Well, how long before like she's gonna come looking for us?" And he said, and Andre utters the faithful words, "I've been living here for 15 years and she hasn't bothered me." And then she immediately
Breaks down the door like the Kool-Aid man.
rips off Andre's arm and beats him to death with it like a fucking Mortal Kombat fatality.
I love that.
Finish him.
I honestly thought that was, like, funny. Like,
Oh yeah,
I was kinda like, "That's so ridiculous, it's funny."
I was a little like I was like, "Oh no, Andre." And then it happened and I was like, "Oh no."
The fact that she had the strength to rip his arm from his body after we learned that she's just a person? I was like, "Wha
I was like, "I
what?"
guess there's a thing to this inbreeding."
So, I guess that makes super soldiers.
Yes. The the government should stop with that whole thing about dinosaurs in Jurassic World and focus on inbreeding.
That would be a really difficult press release, so I think that they're not gonna do it.
A representative from the Pentagon comes out and so we figured out how to make the perfect soldier.
We did it, you guys.
10 years of inbreeding has produced soldiers that have super strength and humongous pendulous breasts.
It's weird, I know, but you gotta let the results speak for themselves.
Here, watch this. Watch one of our soldiers rip the arms off of this homeless man and beat him to death with it.
Uh, so Justin Long and Tess are like, "Ah!" and they run away. And they're running up. I don't know why they go up, but they fucking go
You
up and
never
they
go up in a horror movie, even though I'm
y-
sure it's human nature thinking like maybe you'll get the high ground, Anakin. Like, I
they
don't
go
know.
up or they go down in horror movies and I'm like, "Just stay level. Just stay on the same level." Because you either got to
And
fall
and if
or
they have
you're
a
stuck.
gun, serpentine.
I don't know. I just Tess is like hanging on by a thread and she's like, "Justin Long, wait for me." And he's like, "Ugh." And
And at every turn, Justin Long shows how much of an asshole
he sees Long Tall
Not
Sally
Justin Hall,
coming
not Justin, not him as as a person, as an actor, as his character,
as AJ.
as AJ.
And he's like, "It's either you or me, and you're already kind of fucked up." So he takes this woman that he shot himself and he throws her from the
He
water
doesn't say
tower.
that. He says he's like, "I need a distraction."
I
And
loved
then
it.
he throws her from the tower.
I was losing my mind because he's before when they're
The
talking
unmitigated
to
gall.
Andre, the homeless man, he's like losing his shit because he is accused of rape. He doesn't think he raped her like at all.
Yep.
In his mind, he's like, I didn't do that. He now is like exposed to this horrible monster of a man, Frank, and he's kind of like analyzing everything he has done up to this point. He just shot Tess. He's like dealing with all of this and he's looking into the fire and he's like, "I think I'm a
I
bad
see,
person."
I
Like,
see. I look at Frank and I see myself.
he's freaking out. He's like, you kind of feel like he's going to have this growth because he's
And he
now
doesn't.
exposed to it. And then he throws Tess off the water tower.
Proving
And
that
then
he is a jackass.
he's like, "Go get your baby." And then Long Tall Sally launches herself hilariously off of the tower
Yeah, like fucking Gollum after the ring of power.
after the ring. Like, but like tits flapping.
Oh yeah, just
It's like funny. It's funny. I thought it was kind of funny. And then they both hit the ground and
and that's why for me this movie kind of lost me. Like it became like kind of like a realistic like home invasion slash I personally also am terrified of Airbnb. Like I will never do an Airbnb. I will always do a hotel because I don't trust Airbnb for this very reason. So
'Cause
it's
there's
like,
women in the basements! I
no,
keep
because I
telling
don't
people!
no, because I don't know who lives in this house. Like, I don't like so I don't know, like, that kinda shit. So I don't know, it's like they're just so I don't trust Airbnb. So, like, for me, the beginning of the movie was preying on a very real fear for me,
Yeah.
and then it turned into this, and I was like, "Oh, never mind." It's like,
Oh, I'm not scared of this specific thing.
yeah, no, not the I'm not scared of an inbred super soldier ripping my arm off and beating me to death with it.
That's a really specific fear that some one person must have been losing their shit in
Yeah,
the movie theater, like, "Oh my god, they knew."
they knew.
The dreams are becoming real.
Someone spoke my dreams into reality.
So, Long Tall Sally kind of somehow saves Tess mostly from the fall, and Tess Justin Long runs down and he's like, "Oh, sorry, Tess, I just had to do it, you know?"
It's all I can think of.
And Long Tall Sally gets up and just
Again, superhuman
superhuman.
resilience, like,
I love it. She's powered with rage,
yeah,
and
maternal rage.
she sticks her thumbs through his eyes and just murders Justin Long. And Tess is like, I got shot and I fell off a water tower, so I'm not doing great. I feel bad. And Long Tall Sally's like, we gotta go back. She can't talk, so she's going like, blah, blah, blah. But
It made me actually kinda sad
it was sad because she
because
doesn't
she
know.
doesn't know, and this poor creature, like, while, yes, did this creature has this creature probably murdered so many people in its life? Yes,
So
but that's
many.
because it was the product of all of this evil, evil, evil that happened in this basement.
Yeah, I she wants to take Tess back to the basement, and Tess every time she tries to pick her up, Tess is like, "Ah!" And there's like it's like a horrible moment where they're like you can tell Tess doesn't want to kill her, but she's also like, "I can't go back there
And I can't let you keep living.
doing this." So Tess has the gun that Frank had initially when he committed. So, she shoots the monster and then the screen goes to
Well, then the
black.
well, the monster go it was because the monster goes like she holds the gun up, and it's like the monster has, like, the moment of realization and understanding, and she just kinda goes like, "Bye-bye."
Bye-bye. And it's, yeah, and
It
so
was actually kind of a weird, sad way to end it, and I was like, "Okay."
and the movie ends, and then it, like the credits show, and then there's flashes of Tess getting up and, like, walking, limping, kind
Did
of
did you
out
guys
of the
stay to the
neighborhood.
end?
Is there a thing?
No.
Oh, fuck.
At least
Alright.
that's what our research said no, so we were waiting for credits, and then we decided to leave.
Yeah, Brennan
So I
told
was
me that we could just leave.
okay, yeah.
But that is the movie. That is Barbarian. And I loved it. I thought it was great. And Logan
I liked about 2/3 of it. I'll give it
that
2/3.
that is most of what because Brendan looked up critiques of it and he found a lot of people kind of like they most people like the first third of the movie where it's just Tess and Keith.
I really liked that. The ambiance that was being set up and prepared, I was ready for a whole different story. I was ready for, like, the strangers. I was, like, ready for that kinda shit.
Hmm.
I was ready for Hush,
And you got big, long, tall
Long
Sally.
Tall Sally, Sally Plain and Tall.
I love her. But yeah, it's a lot of people just weren't a lot of the critiques like there's multiple ones. There's people that liked it. There's people that didn't like it and then they go into many subgroups.
I will
And
definitely say I liked it. Overall, it's like if someone was like, "Did you like the movie?" I would say, "Yes, I liked it." Were there things that I didn't like? Yes.
most of it, it sounds like.
No.
I just feel like the crux of the movie you weren't into.
Yeah. Once it became clear what the actual thing was gonna be. See, Charlie and I talked about it, and we actually thought that AJ's whole character and everything was completely superfluous. I thought the whole movie could have just been Tess and Keith dealing with this creature, figuring out Frank's involvement and the monster that he is. There could have been a moment where the monster finally gets to kill Frank, and it could have just been it could have just been the two of them, and it could have just taken place in this one spot the entire movie.
I would have watched that. I would have liked more of, like, the creepiness of the dungeon, the fact that the dungeon exists, how it was created, because
And seeing more of the flashbacks of Frank being this terrifying monster of a person who did these things. Like, of course, you don't want to witness the actual things, but like
yeah.
seeing more of him like stalking women and putting more into him as a character. Because I feel like he was thrown out of the last second as like, oh yeah, by the way, here's Frank. He's
There's a
actually the
murderer.
asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah, done. And we're also
I
not going to explore any of the things that he did really. And I
See,
was
I
like,
actually think that's really interesting. As someone who likes true crime, there are cases like this where there's someone that is a murderer and they will keep people in their basements. They'll make almost like a torture dungeony thing. There's cases of people raping people and having children in this basement and keeping them there. Like
there was
these
one
are
in
real
Austria. There was
yeah.
one with JC Dugard.
So, like, these things exist, and that's what was scary to me, but I didn't need any more of Frank. The second that they put in the VHS and you heard the screams and you saw Justin Justin Long's face, I was like, "I know exactly what that's about, and I
Yep.
would rather have Long Tall Sally, thank you."
I would have kind of liked if they did the video if they had him put the videotape in and then it cut to the flashback from the 80s of him stalking this woman.
I had enough because I knew exactly where it was going, and that kind of stuff, the fact that it's real and something that I've researched, I'm like, "Oh, I don't
Oh yeah, no,
I
no,
don't
no.
wanna see it happen."
I don't know. I do not need to see it happen, but I feel like Frank as a character was thrown in
He didn't have enough backstory to be
or
interesting.
like the order in which they introduced him was bad.
Yeah, I thought he seemed to kinda come in randomly. I'm
I feel
sure
like
there
they
was a
could
reason for it.
I think they could have had Justin Long stumble into his room, continue his thing, thinking like, "Oh, you must also be kept here prisoner by this person," and then he sees the videotapes while this like vegetative Frank is like in the his spot, and then he takes the videotape out, puts it in, and then it cuts back and shows us that one clip, and then cuts back to the future with us like with just seeing Justin Long's face while the videotape kind of screams or something like that, so that we know he's a creeper. He did this thing, and then AJ can turn around, and maybe even AJ has a moment where he's like, "I'm gonna fucking kick your ass," like, and maybe that's where AJ could have a moment of being like a hero of some
A
kind,
vindication?
of yeah, a redemption moment for him of like seeing that that's the person he could become and deciding to not be that person.
So, I am now gonna go into Brendan's
Surely,
amazing symbolisms that he told me, and then I was like, "Oh my god, that's the coolest thing ever." Which I probably, looking at the trivia for this, I actually think he's probably on the money. So, we were on a walk and I was talking about how I didn't understand Marcus. Like the fact that they have her ex-boyfriend calling her, I thought that was weird because he never really came up again. And when Tess is talking to Keith in the beginning, she talks about Marcus and she's like, he tries calling her again and Keith's like, "What's going on?" And she's like, "Well, it's a bad relationship. I just always end up going back. And this time I'm not doing it." And it's the whole movie is set up where Tess is being exposed to these toxic masculine traits. Like it's every male character that she runs into. So Keith is the least toxic of the ones that we meet. He seems very nice. He genuinely likes her. He tries very hard to be polite. However, he does those things that are genuinely rooted in
manipulative.
sexism.
It's a little manipulative with like the tea where he's constantly offering the tea, the wine where he's constantly pushing the wine, and it's just like it's a little manipulative.
I, as a woman, I actually appreciated that so she comes out of the bathroom and he has wine and he's like, "I was waiting to open the wine so that you could see me opening it because you didn't drink the tea I offered you. And so I decided to wait until you were done so you could see me." And I was like, "That's actually nice
Yeah,
because I wouldn't." drink anything that someone gave me that I didn't see them crack open. So I liked that. But he did things like she was like, I'll just sleep on the couch. And he's like, I wasn't raised that way. Say what you want, but you'll sleep in the bed and I'll sleep on the couch. Like that kind of thing.
The chivalry, kind of the chivalrous.
She comes upstairs saying, there's something wrong. We have to leave. And he says, I have to see it for myself because I don't trust you. That kind of thought is like a negative, toxic trait. And then you have the next level, which is AJ, who doesn't think he did anything wrong. He doesn't think he raped her at all. He thinks that he just talked to her until she was fine with it. But it was all consensual. It was all fine. He doesn't think that he is a bad person, but he's obviously a bad person. So he's got all of these other toxic traits. And then you see the next step up, which is Frank, who is like a monster. And he's attacking women, being like obviously evil. So there's all of these obvious signs that there are men with toxic traits. And then there's Tess, who in the beginning said that she keeps going back. And Justin Long stays he gets captured in the basement. She gets out and she says, I have to go back for him.
She keeps going back.
She
Oh
keeps
my God.
going back. Keith is in the basement and she says, I'm not going back downstairs. And he says, you don't have to. And she goes back down anyway because he doesn't come back up. She keeps going back. And I was like, Brendan said that and I was like, boosh. Like it was so cool. And yeah, I just really appreciated that review of being like, yeah.
The only man who was great is Andre. Rip in peace.
Rip in peace, Andre.
Fuck the policeman.
They also were bad, obviously, but yeah, so that was my favorite of the, like, when we were going through it, when Brendan was like, this is what I think that meant. And I was like, whoa!
Whoa.
Whoa! But I personally loved the movie. I thought it was ridiculous. It took a ridiculous shift. However, I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed the ending. But a lot of people felt like it was too ridiculous, and that kind of affected their enjoyment.
The only reason I wouldn't say it was too ridiculous, I'd say it started out giving me something else. And then the shift was a shift that I was like, I wasn't expecting.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, it's like, it seemed to me to be very rooted in like a realistic, like, fear of like, okay, we're in a Airbnb and who knows who actually is fucking living here. So it did definitely prey on that fear. But then when it took that one step into too much, I was like,
Oh.
like a little
So
too
there's an
ridiculous.
inbred lady in the basement. Oh.
Yeah. I
But-
still enjoyed it. It definitely did give me some scares. Charlie was walking in our living room at night, and I came in, he was coming to bed, but all the lights were off, and it just was like his silhouette in the darkness coming at me, like in the movie, and I did scream.
Woo!
I did. Ah!
That's good.
And Charlie looked at me like, what the fuck?
I'm going to bed. Oh my god. But I enjoyed the movie. I think you should go watch it if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, if you've made it this far, go and see it, and we'd love to hear what you think of it.
I would love to hear your thoughts or your other theories about what things meant and shit, because
Did you like the shift?
Did you like it? I loved it. Logan was eh.
I was middling on it. Like I said, it's like I'm not I'm not gonna sit here and be like, I hated it. But it's like they had me going for I'd probably say even when Justin Long was introduced and when we went back to the house and they did inject a little humor, because I'm sorry, a movie that's all total serious with zero like levity at any given moment, not really enjoyable for me. So it's like I did appreciate the humorous kind of moments that were introduced. And then they went back into the basement. And I was like, I was feeling it. I was scared of it. And then it's like once I saw the oversized like bottle of disgusting milk.
That's where you were like, ugh.
That's where I was like, oh. I was like, okay. It took like a gross turn I wasn't expecting.
I am good. One thing that I did think was interesting, just like the director wise, the person that made it and directed it. Oh shit.
Zach something or other? Zach Kreger?
Uh, Zach Krager. He is more of a comedy person.
So was
So
Jordan Peele.
yeah, so that's kind of where you get those like comedic elements to it that some people thought were out of place. A lot of people didn't like the tonal shift of the tape measure. They were like, it took me out of it. Like I was in a horror movie, you know? But
That I
like
actually I did think the tape measure bit was funny.
I loved it. But also
I
Jordan
will say
Peele
I
does
laughed.
that with comedy in horror movies where I love it all
Well,
the time.
speaking of which, Jordan Peele was kind of involved in this movie.
Yes, he
Just a
was.
little bit. He was just kind of he was like an invisible hand that guided it.
But yeah, so those were most of my main thoughts on the movie. We'd love to hear yours, so please send us an email. Our email has changed now that we changed our name, and I'll tell you what it is as soon as I can. Uh, my bad. My bad. I didn't really think about the fact that our names have changed for everything. So our new email is livingscarypodcast@gmail.com. You can tell us your scary stories, your thoughts on the movie Barbarian, and your sibling stories. That's something that we would love to tell on the podcast if you're
Because we're
into
reaching
it.
100 episodes, we've kind of run through our personal sibling
There's only
stories.
so much we can say, but we're
God, isn't that
also
sad? 30 years of a lifetime, and I can't think of any interesting things that have happened to me.
I we're no, I think we're okay. Right?
I haven't lived a life.
Oh my god. But we're also on Tumblr. We're living vicariously podcast at tumblr.com.
So we're still living vicariously?
I'm sorry, we are living scary son of a bitch. We're living scary podcast at tumblr.com and we are at living scary at twitter.com and we're also on Instagram and we may have changed our name. I actually don't know if I did that. We are. Oh, I did it. I'm the best. Living scary podcast at instagram.com. So you can find us there. Yep.
Shall I take us out?
I think you should take us out.
Huge pendulous boo.
Boops.